Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. Make sure you follow us on our Discord community, and make sure you swing by TSJ101sports.com, where the Pro Wrestling Podcast is the official podcast of TSJ Sports, but it's not just wrestling. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, everything you can think of in the world of sports at TSJ101sports.com. Check it out today. Guys, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately and go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, and hey, if you want your name in the shout-outs like our buddy Mike in Lansdale, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast today. Sign up. We have loyalty rewards. If you are a $15 a month contributor, you can co-host a live episode with myself, and $7.50 a month contributors can get entered into a drawing to also co-host a live show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. We'll be taking questions, comments, anything you want to say or get into a future show through the Pro Wrestling Sound-Off line at 267-642-1160. Give us anything you want to discuss, and we'll try to get to those questions as soon as possible. Don't forget to head over to the homepage of the Pro Wrestling Podcast at prowrestling.com to preview anything we've got coming to the show. That's where we're starting today. As things coming to the show, we've got to talk about what WWE is bringing to the table for WrestleMania 37. I know it's really early to start thinking about this, but WWE, for all the crap that they get for not planning far enough ahead, when it comes to WrestleMania, a lot of times they are thinking very far ahead. And whenever you hear that some of their plans get altered, changed, or there's at least a hypothesis out there about going a different direction, I find that intriguing. For example, it has always been the plan that Edge and Randy Orton were going to meet at WrestleMania 37. They had their little run-in at the Royal Rumble. They have their match at WrestleMania. They followed up at Extreme Rules, and there was always supposed to be a rubber match. And then Edge gets hurt. When Edge gets hurt and they look at the timetable for when Edge is going to be back, they decide that Randy Orton versus Edge is the match they want to see at WrestleMania 37. Now, personally, I find that to be a complete waste of a WrestleMania moment because we've seen it already. Been there, done that, don't need to see it ever again. However, the news coming out this week is that there is a conversation about a different match at WrestleMania 37 involving Edge. And it comes in two different varieties. One would be a match pitting Edge against the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of appeal for this match. I don't think it's something we need to see. I really don't. I don't see how those two things tie together. I don't see where Bray's character overlaps anything Edge does. But if that's where they want to go, so be it. It's something I've never seen before, so I would at least be open to it. I've been very vocal in the past. I think the WrestleMania match we need to see with Edge is Edge versus AJ Styles, but it sounds like they're not going to do that right away. Maybe, hopefully, I pray we get to see that at some point. Instead, the other option that is being floated right now is to have Edge team up with his wife, Beth Phoenix, to take on the Fiend as well as Alexa Bliss. Now, I find that one a little bit more intriguing just because it is an opportunity to see a mixed tag match, and there's so many different things you could do with Beth Phoenix, the Glamazon, as intimidating as she could be, paired up against Alexa Bliss, who has this demonic presence character going on right now. But I still don't feel the love for the Edge and the Fiend part of the match. I just don't see that matching up. But it sounds like that's something that's being discussed right now in WWE. We'll have to keep our eyes on it and see where it goes. And you know you've made it to the big time when you get endorsements from certain people. Speaking of The Fiend, The Undertaker coming out this week saying that he would have loved to work with The Fiend character. He was on WWE's The Bump, and one of the things he talked about is being able, or wishing he was able to work with the Fiend persona. Don't get me wrong, I understand he wrestled Bray Wyatt previously, but in this incarnation, this Fiend character is something The Undertaker would have been very much interested in. It's a shame we didn't get to see that. Hopefully, we never do. Because I know a lot of people are speculating on The Undertaker. You got the 30th anniversary of his arrival at Survivor Series, the final farewell that they're hyping up. And I'm all for that. It's time for him to ride off into the sunset and be done with this. The only way you get me to bring The Undertaker back to the ring for anything would be either for Sting or Drew McIntyre. That's it. I would not bring him back for any other reason ever again. That being said, I love what they're doing with the Survivor Series. I love that he's now coming out of his character and sharing his perspective, endorsing someone like Bray Wyatt, talking up the abilities of Roman Reigns. And earlier this week, he and Kane mentioned that they thought that Roman Reigns should have been the one to end the streak, not Brock Lesnar. I couldn't agree more. I think that's exactly what they should have done. In other news, AEW, new signing Matt Sydal. He was there at the most recent pay-per-views. He's put on a good enough show that they decided to give him an opportunity, and now he is AEW. I find it frustrating, though, that when they started the company, everything was about how this was going to be different. It wasn't going to be WWE Light, but every time somebody is a former WWE star who becomes available and approaches them about a potential deal, somehow they end up in AEW. I don't need to see every WWE star that leaves go to AEW. Thank God the Good Brothers went to Impact, where, by the way, congrats to them, winning the Impact Tag Team Championship at the pay-per-view, but I don't need to see AEW just get flooded with WWE guys. However, what I would not be opposed to is the NWA and Marti Belle have parted ways, and Marti Belle would be a legitimate female superstar to help bolster the female roster on AEW, because that roster is hurting. Don't get me wrong, I know some people are like, no, she's going to go to WWE, and if she does, more power to her. I will never take that away from her. Or if she went to Impact. I don't care where she goes, but here's the thing. WWE has got so many female talents right now, she'll get lost in the shuffle and won't have a prominent role. In the AEW locker room, she's got a legitimate chance to be a premier primetime world champion level star. If I was a talent, that is something that would be more appealing to me. Good luck to Marti Belle in whatever she chooses to do next. I'm actually curious to see how things go. Roman Reigns, another tidbit for him in the news this week. His Universal Championship reign apparently was not supposed to be a long-term reign, which I don't see how they could say that, but that's the word coming out. Wrestling Observer Radio reported that the original plan was not for him to have a long run. It was going to be short. So you got to wonder, like, what was the plan? And I know that there was conversation about him being in line for a feud with Daniel Bryan very shortly, probably in December. But if you're going to do that, I have a tough time with the fact that you had Daniel Bryan lose clean to Jey Uso, only to have him come back and be considered a legitimate threat to Roman Reigns. And with Daniel Bryan saying everything that he said recently about how he's not, as spry, so to speak, as AJ Styles, and he's, getting up there in age, and he's now ready to help enhance talents and things like that. I don't see that guy being the one to take the Universal Championship. And at this point, we have to start thinking about WrestleMania. So, if The Rock versus Roman is a reality, do you really need the Universal Championship on the line? I say no. And I would get that belt off him if you're going to do Roman and The Rock, and here is why. There's not a person on the planet who's going to pick The Rock to beat Roman if it's for the Universal title. However, if it's not for a championship, and The Rock's only going to be around 1 or 2 appearances, then you could convince me that he could go over Roman, and that makes the match attractive, because I don't know who's going to win. So I say get the belt off of Roman so that he and The Rock could have a legit match at WrestleMania, if that still is the plan. If that's not the plan, keep the belt on him, build up the legitimacy of the Universal Championship, and have him face someone incredible at the show. Now, who are you going to have him face? I mean, literally, look down the roster. He has faced just about everybody. So what you would have to do is put him in the ring with somebody who you've kept him away from for a while to make it another sellout event, to make it attractive. Well, who can that be? Can't be Randy Orton. He's in the wrong brand for one, and it just feels like old news. Can't be Drew McIntyre, even though they've already teased that. I think they did that because of what Triple H said about that someday being a Ric Flair Hulk Hogan WrestleMania moment. I don't agree with, but that's what they said. And then you look at the rest of the roster. Do you want to put Roman in there with Edge? Because Edge technically isn't with a brand at all. I don't see that. I really don't. As I said earlier, I'd rather see that with AJ Styles. Do you put Roman Reigns against Braun Strowman? Well, no, you just did that match, so that's out of the way. Who are you going to put him in the ring with? Now, I know some people said, maybe that's when you bring back Samoa Joe. He would have been gone for an extended almost a year at that point, and then you could bring him in and he could be a threat to the championship. But I'm not one person who wants to promote a guy who hasn't been in the ring in a year and make him your main event star right away. I don't think that's fair to the guys who grind it out 300 days a year. Now, I get it, they're not right now because of COVID, but you get what I'm saying. Like, they're on TV every week, they're performing every week, and then you get pushed aside somebody who hasn't performed in a year. I don't like that. If you're going to put somebody in the ring with Roman and you want to blow minds, put Sting in the ring with Roman. That hasn't been done. I'd watch that. It would be different. It'd be kind of feel like the whole Seth Rollins Sting thing from a few years ago. But if you just want to pop the audience and get the viewership up and take advantage of the WrestleMania season, do something like that. If you want to put him in there with somebody who's an everyday star, or you want to put him in there for like a main event box office draw, give him the shot that was supposed to happen against Goldberg, because Goldberg's got to wrestle 2 matches next year, and they have to be big names. Maybe that's where you go with it. I don't want to see that either, by the way, just for the record, unless Goldberg can really put together a solid match, like early WCW Goldberg days, not later, but I don't see that happening. So I don't know where you go with this. And I don't see anybody built up to a level that's a main event WrestleMania moment caliber talent. So that makes me look at something that many people won't, and that's beyond the WWE circle. Who can you build up quickly to be a legitimate challenger to Roman Reigns? And I've got a completely ludicrous, out of left field proposition. WWE needs to back up the Brinks truck, and they need to sign the New Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team, the Gorillas of Destiny, and Jay White. Can you imagine Roman Reigns with the Usos in a feud with Jay White and the Gorillas of Destiny and making that the battle for the tribal chief, sitting at the head of the table, understanding that Tangaloa is not the head of the table for the Anoa'i family, but it still has a similar vibe. I would pay to see that more than I'd pay to see Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre again, because they've done that match before. I'd pay to see that over anything probably you could put out there right now in WWE programming. I think WWE turns a blind eye to New Japan far too often, and you're missing an opportunity. If Jay White or the Gorillas of Destiny became available, especially with what you've done with Roman and the Usos recently, I would jump all over that. Now, moving on, Impact Wrestling is in the news. Apparently, they made an overture to Kurt Angle to come back to the company. They did not discuss whether he'd be wrestling, be a manager, do some other thing, but apparently the deal fell through. He did not appear, and now he's going to be at Survivor Series instead. But I do find it interesting that Impact put the overture out there and tried to make something happen. Good for them. They have been showing a lot of tenacity lately and refusing to accept the number 3 status and still trying to get the number 2 status in the wrestling world. Far from it. AEW clearly has the advantage, but I would argue that the product on Impact Wrestling in a lot of ways has been as good as the AEW product and less monotonous. AEW is like 10,000 tag team matches every week. I don't need that. I'd much rather go with something else, but we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. Want to throw this out there. The Thunderdome apparently is getting ready to move. They're going to be moving from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida to the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, and that's being reported by eWrestling News. And the reality of the situation is it is a great location. It's where they usually put up the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't think you're going to be seeing baseball in a stadium until probably June. I mean, unless something crazy happens, I don't think you're going to see that till June. So you could that's great for Tropicana Field and for WWE to get a different venue going. I'm curious to see how that plays out, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. But apparently that deal is underway, and it'll, hopefully pick up sometime in the near future, and we'll get more information as it comes out. But we do know that they extended the Amway Center deal till November 24th, and I'm not sure if they'll do another short-term thing while they get the other location ready or what, but it will definitely be curious to see how that plays out. Speaking of arenas, in the news, the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, often affectionately referred to as the ECW Arena. They have held conventions there, countless independent wrestling organizations matches there, and now they have a GoFundMe campaign out there to try to keep the place open. There's a $100,000 GoFundMe out there. And for wrestling fans who have never been to the East Coast or to the 2300 Arena, it really is an iconic location for wrestling in this area. But I don't know that they're going to, I mean, right now it only has like $2,500 raised. I don't see $100,000 coming in because the people who typically attended those events aren't necessarily backing up Brinks trucks themselves. But I do hope they find a way to keep the arena going, because once we get COVID under control, it would be nice to see wrestling return to that location, because it is absolutely a unique experience. And of course, the thing we have to talk to, the Screen Actors Guild interjecting themselves, Gabriela Carteris, former 90210 star, reaching out to Zelina Vega, who was released from WWE because of her ongoing third-party platforms that she streams on, and she asked for her release. It was granted her release. She's going to continue to stream. A lot of people don't understand this. Apparently, there's two different types of contracts in WWE. For lack of better terms, A and B contracts. A contracts were pre-AEW. B contracts post-AEW. B contract wrestlers have a significant pay increase, which takes care of the fact that AEW is in the picture and that they're not touring right now. Whereas Zelina Vega had an A-level contract, which is one that does not have as high of a downside guarantee, and these third-party platforms were a way for them to supplement their income, and she was doing quite well with that. Well, she was not willing to give up those third-party platforms, and now she is no longer with WWE. I am hoping for her sake that AEW, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, New Japan, somebody picks her up, CMLL, AAA, I don't even care. Somebody pick her up and give her an opportunity, because she built a brand. Look, I get it. I understand why WWE is doing what they're doing. I might be in the minority. I've gone back and forth on this. I've tried to rationalize it from both sides. I get what they're saying. They build up your character. They invest a lot of money in you, and you made a contract with them. I get it. But her contract was around long before AEW, before COVID, and things have changed. The world has changed. If WWE was smart, instead of losing talent like this, what you do is you go renegotiate the contract. You say, here's the deal. We're either going to let you go, but we'd like to renegotiate and come to a new agreement. I mean, I don't know if anybody was paying attention, but WWE now offers essentially the same thing as Cameo, where you could pay $125 to have a 2-minute conversation with Big E. That sounds great to some people, but that's not realistic for some. You could go on Cameo before, and for $25, get a personalized video from a professional wrestler. WWE's trying to rake people over the coals for this stuff. I support the third-party situation for them. I hope they get this straightened out, and I hope WWE doesn't continue to lose talent, because it would be a shame for all that they've built in some of these characters never to come to its highest point, because WWE pulled the plug too early over streaming on Twitch, for God's sake. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing any music or sound effects we use in our shows. Today's show is sponsored by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to prowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move or considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs. That's Fro Life Educational Planning is for today or tomorrow for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, check out TSJ101sports.com. There are articles on the world of wrestling and all things sports. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.